Have you ever felt like the new kid in school? Or maybe just the new kid in the craft room? Welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. I'm Erin. I've been paper crafting, scrapbooking, and card making for well over 20 years. But when Close to My Heart closed their doors and I made the decision to move over to Stampin' Up, I realized very quickly, while many things felt comfortable and familiar, there were areas where I found myself fumbling. So I have learned some things. There were things that I didn't even know I needed to know. And then just by trial and error, I want to share those with you today. So I've got some quick tips. I'm going to take you over to my desk and show you what I mean. First of all, we have stamps. We love stamps, right? There's two different types of stamps, photopolymer and cling stamp. I know many of us, myself included, are a big fan of Team Photopolymer because they're clear stamps. You can see through them, whether you're stamping them on some paper and die cutting them out or going direct to your project, and you can get perfect placement every time. Love it. I do want to say the dies do not come inside the cases like this. So if you've been with Stampin' Up for a long time, you already know that. They come in a envelope. These are very nice envelopes too, by the way. So I am repurposing these for many other things in my craft room, but this is the citrus blooms which goes with this one. So they come in these envelopes on a piece of cardboard stuck down with double-sided tape. Now at first I thought, oh, this would be perfect. You can just put them right inside, but these envelopes are just slightly too big and you wouldn't be able to close the case. So what I've done is I found these magnets on Amazon. They're 5x7 and they fit absolutely perfectly like they were made for it, and they're adhesive back. So you just peel off the backing, stick it right inside the case, and then you could adhere your magnets to the inside of the door to keep them all in one place. Now I have noticed that there's a couple different ways you can work with the stamps. The stamp sets come like this. They are sandwiched in between a very thin piece of plastic and then a thick piece of plastic. So you can leave them like this and just add them, have them kind of free floating in here. You've got the images for the photopolymer. So what some people are doing, and I have done with this one, is I still have this thicker plastic sheet because it's protecting my stamps, right? There's actually quite a bit of room in here unless you were like squishing them during travel to a retreat or something. They're not coming into contact with those stamps, but we can never be too careful with our investment. So I have added these stamp sets. Now I've noticed that they don't stick to the case as well as they stick to the plastic. They stick well enough, they stay in place, but you saw a few of them came up. But I've saved this thicker sheet of plastic. I've adhered these right to the stamp case over the coordinating image so that I know right away if something's missing. And then, as I mentioned, just to be safe, we're going to put that right over the top, and that way it protects them from coming into contact with these metal dies. So you've got options. You can leave them like this, free floating, or you can stick them down directly to the case door. Now look at that. There's a ton of dies in this trusty tool set. I can't wait to use this one. I have so many projects planned. I was able to play a game of Tetris and stack these guys in here intricately. Now some die sets are going to have more dies than will fit on here. So I've got another solution for you. I have long been purchasing envelopes on Amazon for different purposes. Now these are not as heavy duty as the Stampin' Up ones. These are much thicker, but these are thick enough that they're going to do the job. So here on the Citrus Blooms one, let me close these and get these out of the way here. This is a cling stamp, so I'm like squirrel moment here. Let me talk about cling stamps here in a moment. But you'll notice I've got my dies here for this particular stamp, but this is also part of the die set. We have a frame, outside frame, and then a leaf frame, and then an inner cluster, and there's no way I was getting all of those on this particular magnet here. So these I had separate. I'm still, in the envelope that they came in, but these 5x7 envelopes do fit inside the case. So what I can do is, and even if you didn't want to adhere them, you could slide a magnet in and have front and back. So you could have your, half the dies on one side and then the rest of them in the back. Now I have heard a few, concerned that the dies would hurt the cling stamps because the cling stamps, which are red rubber stamps, are thicker than your photopolymer. They're thicker because they have a built-in foam cushion, and so therefore they take up more space. There's still room in here, but this way we've got this smooth plastic surface, and that is not in any way going to be harmful to your stamps. So these 5x7 envelopes are a great alternative solution. We can stick it right to the case. We can put them in here. That way we've got double-sided, and the case still closes quite nicely, and there's room for everything. So I really love that. And of course, I'll leave these envelopes listed in the description box below. I love having my dies that coordinate with the stamp sets. It just makes it easy for me. And this case is already taking up, a certain amount of space in my stamp collection. And now I've consolidated it so I don't have to have these, in another bin taking up more space. So that works for me. Now let's talk about the cling stamps or red rubber stamps. A lot of us were like, nope, not going to do it. I am a clear photopolymer stamp person all the way through and through. And then we see some fabulous design and we're like, okay, I'm sold, right? So this is how they come. They come in this rubber carrying sheet, and they're not labeled. The stickers are separate. I know some of you leave the labels off and it's personal preference. I like to have mine on. So what you're going to do the first time is you're going to pop these stamps out of here. Okay, so they're just kind of connected by little tiny nubs, and you do want to be gentle. Don't go, crazy. Take your time and just pop these out, and we're going to set up our stamps with the stickers. And I am keeping my outline shape here. Again, I've seen lots of people do it both ways, but I feel like just having this in here, you can see whether or not you're missing a stamp image. Like some of these tiny ones are easy to kind of hide on your desk. They have a funny way of doing that. So you would know right away, oh no, I'm missing one, because we don't have the images on the back of the cling stamp sets to remind us. So I'm going to show you, I've learned from some Stampin' Up experts here. Let me grab a block. So you need a large enough block to cover the size of your stamped image, and then you want to peel your sticker away. There's a couple layers here. We've got the backing and then the sticker. Peel these away. The front of the sticker is a little bit tacky, and that's going to help it to stick to your block, much like the photopolymer stamps do. So let's go ahead. We're going to put this on a diagonal so that it all fits within our block shape. You're going to stick it sticker side down so you can see the image. Put that down onto your acrylic block, and now there's a tiny little score line down the middle, and you want to just peel that away to reveal the sticker. So you don't need these pieces. Let me get my fingernail. This definitely helps if you have nails. The first side came off so easily. What's the deal here? Okay, there's our second half. Now we remove the protective layer from our cling stamp, and then we will join the two together. So there's really only one way for this to go. Put your stamp down, turn this over, and now it's a little bit hard because I'm filming, but you can very easily see to line this up within your, let me focus here. It's hard to talk and do this at the same time. I got my finger under the way. So push down. So this is, to me, the easiest way to line these up, okay? So now we have our stamp. We can see what it looks like on the opposite side, and then you just want to, this, like I said, there's a tackiness to our sticker, and it helps hold your cling stamp to the block here. So that is got a nice bond there. It doesn't want to let go. It says, wait, use me for a project. Don't put me away. So it's easiest just to go through and set these up, right when you get the stamp. And then I'm just, as I mentioned, for now, I'm keeping my little red rubber outline shape and keeping those together. So this all just fits in here so nice and keeps it all together. I love it. You may be wondering why they even offer both options, the cling stamp and the photopolymer stamp. Back in the day, we started out with red rubber and then we discovered photopolymer. So you're thinking, why is this still around? Well, this is what I've learned. The cling stamp actually stamps better when it's a highly detailed image. So if it's a simple outline stamp like this, you know, there's not a lot of detail, this works great. But if it has shading and different depths variation built into the design, you can see all these little like dots on the outside of the orange to the artist has worked in that shading for us, right? That's really nice. And when you have that level of detail, it does give you a better result to use the red rubber. Now here's a few differences I've also learned. I tend to be a very heavy-handed stamper. I didn't even realize I was a heavy-handed stamper until I started kind of playing around with the new product. So if you've been following me for a while, you know I always talk about using a foam cushion behind your photopolymer stamps to stamp your image, and you're going to get a better stamped result when you use the foam. All of Close to My Heart stamp sets came with this little foam insert. That not double duty here. It protects the stamp, but it also served as that foam you could put underneath your paper if you didn't have a Versamat, and that's going to give you that better image. And it still holds true for all photopolymer stamps, regardless of the company they are from. Now, if you look at a cling stamp, they have that foam built in. So let me pull this little guy up here. And you don't want to use these with a foam pad. Ask me how I know. I realized right away, I'm like, oh my goodness, not only was I being heavy-handed, but then I had the foam and I had ink everywhere. I'd gotten ink all on the edges, like total rookie move, right? So you can see that foam pad already built in. That serves the purpose the same as this does for photopolymer stamps. So when you are using a cling stamp, you want a firm surface. When you're using a photopolymer set, you want some foam backing to give you the best results. Now, while we are talking about being a heavy-handed stamper, there's some differences in the ink pads. Now, I am a huge fan of the case of Close to My Heart ink pads. It's magnetic, it's awesome, so easy to use, and I just think it's fabulous. The cases for the Stampin' Up, you have to kind of pop them open and then slide them in the grooves there, and you get your ink pad like that. It's kind of nice that it's in one piece. That's a bonus rather than having two pieces here. You know, just one of the little things, you know, you could call that a benefit. But Close to My Heart is a woven pad, so it's very firm, and you can really pat down your stamp on this, and you're not going to get a bunch of, you know, over spillage of ink around on the block and whatnot. The Stampin' Up pads are a foam pad, and actually they're really nice once you get the hang of it. You know, rumor here, some of you may have heard, but Stampin' Up is eventually going to be using these magnetic cases. So it's going to take a while to roll that out, but that is so exciting. They are going to have the magnetic style case just like this, but it will be the foam pad on the inside, which is fine. Like I said, I just had to adjust my stamping and, you know, just lightly, just tap, tap, tap. Actually, it's kind of, you know, handy that you don't have to get aggressive with it. So otherwise, they stamp beautifully. This will lighten quite a bit as it dries. But yeah, that's really the only difference that for me is I had to just, you know, it only took me one time to realize, whoa, lighten up on the pressure there, Erin. Now I have Thistle here. This is a retired color from Close to My Heart, but it is similar to the Petunia Pop here, which is one of the in colors for Stampin' Up. So, you know, something I always do, you'll see me doing, is moving my stamp around the pad, right? We tend to go right in the middle and then we use up all the ink in that area. So if you just move it around, you'll pick up more ink. And I find I have to, you know, tap, tap, tap more on the woven pad to get good coverage and less with the foam pads. So that's kind of nice. You know, and of course, in all fairness, this is a very old ink pad and I have not re-inked it. I have RT because it's retired. It's been around for a long time, so it's not quite comparing apples to apples there. But yeah, so those are some of the differences in the ink pads. And while we are on the subject of the ink pad, there are stickers on the back here. Like I just got some inky fingers there. And it's the color Petunia Pop, and it is in 4 different well, actually 3 different languages. So you can just peel off the sticker according to the language you speak. But if you want to brush up on some of these others and challenge yourself, you could use a different language. But these peel right off. I've not actually done this. So let's see if I can do this on, let's see, what do we got here? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to peel off all of them. We're learning together here. So we've got one that's stuck in there that I'm going to need. But what you're going to do is peel these off, the one that you want, and then this is going to go on the front of your, so you can see the color here, and then this one we're going to label on the front of our stamp pad. So when it is sitting in its little case, we can see at a glance, okay, that's Petunia Pop. That's the color I'm looking for right there. Now, another little thing I didn't know, you don't necessarily know what the color is when you're looking down when it's open, right? And it doesn't, you know, obviously there's a difference there. So we're going to take that second sticker and peel that out. And there's this little groove right here in the ink case, and we're going to lay this right in here. I've said many times I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to scrapbooking, but for my labels, I absolutely want them straight. So let's try some tweezers here to see if I can get my fingers out of the way. Oh yes, that is much easier. So I think that this is such a handy little design feature. So now you have that labeled any way you could possibly want it. I love it. I really appreciate the attention to detail there. I know these are simple little tips, but you know, we don't know until we know, right? I do want to show you, I have a bunch of magnets from my close to my heart days that I've, you know, consolidated things, repurposed things. I want to show you how easily magnets cut. So I have a rail trimmer here. Now when these blades get dull, of course that doesn't want to come out. When these get dull, I label them with a G and use them for glitter paper, but they also work very well to trim down magnets to get them to fit into your envelope if it's just a hair too big. So you just slice, it comes right off, and again, you don't want to use your good paper blade. Use an old blade that you've repurposed specifically for magnets or glitter, and it works really well rather than trimming that with scissors, because I can't cut a straight line with scissors to save my life in something like that. Since we are talking about setting up our stamps and dies and getting everything ready for all the creative fun, if you caught my unboxing video, you may have watched me struggle. As I mentioned earlier, all these dies come on a piece of cardboard adhered with double-sided tape that's very strong. So the larger the surface area of the die, obviously the more contact it has with the tape, the harder it is to get off. At little outline dies, these pop off super easily, but this one I was struggling with, and you can bend these dies. You can absolutely bend them if you are pulling and you have the resistance of the tape. So I know, super simple, but peel the cardboard away from the die rather than lifting the die from the cardboard. So you can see that in this little video here. I struggled and then I figured it out, but that's going to keep your dies safe, nice and flat. It's not the end of the world if you do bend them. They're still going to go through your die cutting machine, but I would rather have my dies nice and flat. Just because a number of you commented about the dies damaging the stamping surface of these stamps, if you are to just stick them to the door directly, because the sticky side's what's going to help them stick to the door of your case, then the stamping surface is facing the dies. But if you were to keep this and then just have this in here, you would have the stamping surface facing down. So then it's eliminating any contact if you don't have these little cases in here. If you have some secret insider tips pertaining to Stampin' Up! Products, drop them in the comments section below. I love learning from you, and it would help everyone else out in the community that is new to Stampin' Up! And if you're looking for more craft room organizing inspiration, then definitely watch this video right here. Bye!